Hello, this is the video demo for the Project Milestone 4. Let me start off by saying that some of the objectives haven't been implemented as you know, other finals were coming in soon also, and as of recently my right eye has kind of been acting up, and I've noticed that the more stimulation it's gotten from either sunlight or just staring at a screen, whether that be, I guess, blue light, it's really just been making it worse and causing headaches. So I just kind of decided to just turn in whatever I have now for the Project Milestone 4, as I've kind of been concerned about my right eye. But anyways, let's continue this on. So, first objective is the tank still moves from Milestone 1, AI still exists from Milestone 2, and the map generation and power-ups still work. So if I were to play this, let me just make sure the audio music is off for now until later. So I'm going to press play. As you can see, player tank still moves. The AI tanks are still doing what they're doing. And as you can see here, so the chasing tank is still there. Not the chasing tank. The chasing tank is still there. The running away tank is here, where once the player tank gets into close proximity, it runs away. Then we have the patrolling tank over here, which takes 4 checkpoints, which are game objects, and just kind of uses that as patrol points. And here were the power-ups. You have the speed one here, bullet one here, and health one here. If I were to press play again, you might notice that some of the tiles would randomly generate. So we got one there, one popping there, popping back there. That's kind of the map procedural thing. Onward to the second objective, start screen. So if I were to go into this scene here, we have the start screen. If I were to press build and run, which is, I guess, the best way right now to demo or video demo this thing. Okay, so once this thing loads, back. So over here we have the play button, options button, quit button. If I were to press the options button, as you can see, it led to the options thing. I'll get more into detail on that. If I were to press the play button, it would obviously lead to the main game, and then if I were to press the quit button, it will quit out of the application. So if I press quit, quits out of the application. And then I can just do this through the in-game engine. But if I were to go into play, it leads to the main game. On into the other objective, which is actually the options screen exists. So I'll go to the options screen. Back, lower the volume. So as you can see, volume increases, lowers. If I go here to the audio mixer, go through here. Kind of notice here the increase and decrease in volume as according to the scroll bar, the slider. And I tried to get one working for sound. So the slider is there. The mixer does move accordingly to the slider, but I just couldn't get the actual sound effects to work attached to the sound mixer. There's also no 2-player mode or map of the day, so that's some of the objectives that kind of got left out. Onward to the other objective. Game music plays. It is controlled by music volume option. So, as you can see here, move the slider, changes the volume. If I were to go back, play, it plays different music. Or actually, I should actually go back into that scene actually and enable the music. Game audio source. So this one plays different music. Also, so if I adjust the volume on this, then the music in the game should also go according to what the slider is saying. So if I go back, the volume was lowered, and that's on that objective. On to the next objective. I'll get more into detail with the code later, but let me just quickly go through all the objectives shortly. Game sounds play and are controlled by sound effects volume options. So there are sound effects that work, but it's only the shooting one for some apparent reason. Even though I did the same thing for power-ups, wall collision, tank destruction, for some strange reason the audio sound effects won't come out of that. So I just decided to kind of leave that out because of especially before the die thing. On to the next objective. Player live scores and high score show in game UI. So I could not also get the UI to work for player live score and high score. I couldn't even get it to load the game over menu, which I guess I can go over here. If I load the game over scene, here was the game over scene. If you press this, it was going to return you back to the main game. Here was going to be the score and high score UI showing, and then whenever the player pressed quit, it would close down the application. Next objective, two-player mode. As mentioned, I wasn't able to implement two-player mode. So onward to the next objective. Options and high scores persist between sessions. So the options, there was another issue, is that it doesn't necessarily, it somewhat saves the options. For example, so for the volume one. So if I were to go back to the start menu, press play. One occurring issue is that if I lower the volume to this when to play the game, the music will play accordingly to that slider. So as you can tell, the volume kind of went accordingly to the slider. One problem that I did notice though is that whenever the player is playing the game and they want to go back into the options, the slider will reset back here. So even though the volume could be here, whenever the player goes back into the settings, the slider resets back to here, even though the volume says it's right here. So that was kind of a weird thing. Game ends with both lives and or score when game lives are equal to 0, or basically when the player or tank object is destroyed. I couldn't implement that, so that's kind of a missed thing. Game track score. Game track score only through the inspector. So, which I guess I could showcase over. I'm just gonna stop that. Oh god. Going to the main. It only does it through the inspector. I did have the score UI working, but for some apparent reason, even though it was working, it was messing around with the movement of the player tank and the AI tanks. So when I did get an actual UI for points scoring system to work, for some strange reason the player tank would have very weird rotating movements, and the AI tanks would go a lot more faster for some apparent reason. Well, actually no, it was just the chasing, the one that chases after the player tank. For some strange reason, that moved a lot quicker. I don't know why, but it just did. So I kind of just decided to leave out the UI scoring system because that just kind of messed up the player movement and the AI settings for whatever reason. Game manager exists. If I go into assets, scripts, and go, where is it? Over here. Here we have the game manager, which leads me, I guess, into the next objective, which is whether when it's bug and error free. So with the model I have, I'm just gonna go back here. So with the model I have, just showing here, here's the game manager. The model I have, there aren't any bugs or errors with the model I have, but the moment I implement some of the things like I mentioned before, the scoring system, then bugs and errors tend to appear. Comments, as you can see, so if I were to go into the UI folder, which has all the UI scripts, if I were to go to button sound, here's some, they're commented. Game over menu script has comments. Main menu script has comments. It has a debug log just for kind of just testing purposes on whether the quit game function was working. The pause menu is has the code commented. Pause has this one was just kind of I actually don't know what this one is. It's kind of just a extra. That's kind of an extra script that I kind of forgot to delete. I can just delete that right now. I'll just delete that sooner. And then we have the settings menu. Code here is commented. There goes that objective. Or project organization. As usual, the project's pretty organized. Let me actually delete this because it's an unnecessary script. So here we have the scripts, animations, because the what's it called? The power-ups have an animation where they'll kind of rotate. Here we have the art folder, audio folder, which are the mixers, and the scripts folder, scenes folder for all the scenes, such as the starting menu, play the game, options, game over, and all that fun stuff. And onward into the last objective, game exceeds minimum requirements. I tried implementing a health bar, but that also led into other issues. So with the health bar, so what was it supposed to do was when it worked accordingly, the health bar would obviously go down and it would change colors. So once it reached like maybe here, it would start going yellow, and then once it reached here, it reached red. And but the problem with that though is that it made the AI tanks not destroy. So it would make the AI tanks have their health go to the negatives. So I kind of just had to scratch off the health bar issue or implementation. Other game exceeds minimum requirements. The change in Skybox. I don't recall if I did this in the third project milestone, but you might as well point it out. There's a change in the Skybox, kind of just add more visualization. The walls have textures on them, kind of to also add more visualizations. And if you saw, so if I were to go into like the start menu, press play, there is kind of like a black box outline when you hover. There's a hovering effect on the buttons, so if I like went hover here in the back, kind of seems like this black outline. All buttons have this black outline. And also the game comes with a pause menu. So here they have a resume button, settings button, which leads them to the settings button, and then quit. They kind of just, if they just want to, the quit button actually does not close out of the application. It leads you back into the starting menu, where the player can actually officially close down the game. And then another thing, what was it? Oh yeah, the options. If I go to the options. So even though some of the things were left out in the options, such as the two-player sound effects, slider adjustments, some things that I was able to kind of substitute is the graphics, resolution, and full screen. So this one would also just be better if I just built and run the game to better showcase this. Once this thing loads. So if the player wanted, they have the full screen here. So if they right now it's enabled, but they can also disable full screen if they want to just kind of move the thing around. Graphics. So even though the game isn't really graphics heavy, I just kind of decided to implement the graphics settings. They can go high, medium, and low, which I can kind of showcase evidence on this once I exit out of this. The resolution. The player has all these resolution options, so they can go from 640 by 840, and it adjusts to that. Or maybe the player wants the highest resolution they have. But they can kind of just play around with the resolutions if they like. And if here, if I were to go, where was it? Canvas. Options menu. What was it? Graphics drop down. So it's here where I can showcase that the graphics do change. Press play. Options. So right now, as you can see, so over here is the value. So a value of 2 means it's on the highest graphics. A value of 1 means medium graphics, and a value of 0 means slow graphics. So if I were to go to medium, changes to 1. And if I were to go to low, changes to 0. And as you can notice also here in the bottom right corner, the image changes according to the graphic settings. So that's that for the 4th project milestone. I wish my right eye decided not to give up on me, but you know, had to turn in something without causing too much stress on my right eye. But you know, that's kind of it for the fourth project milestone, and the next recording will be the final project.